Hi, my name is Harlym, and for my Psychology 101 Naturalistic project, I decided to observe a high school JV volleyball game at Silverado High School. In simple terms, naturalistic observation means observing a setting without interfering. I began my observation around 4:50 p.m., kind of around when everybody else was walking in. I observed the crowd, bench dynamics, coaches, referees, players. There was much to look at. For instance, the bench for Silverado's team sat quietly with their knees bent inwards, little expressions, and kind of mute tone, while the bench for Secta's team was much more interactive with nods, cheers, and outward expressions. The coach for Secta's team always nodded with approval after each point was won by his team and kept his head down after every loss. The Silverado coach kept his notebook in hand, pen and paper ready nearly the entire match, analyzing the game. I observed the down referee's face becoming tense during long rallies. The ball shackers had a range of emotions. Some had a blank stare, while others were interacting with the ball and really into the game. Smaller details I noticed were that they were mostly moms in comparison to dads. Some walked in with face paint representing the school colors, while others just wore the school representing shirts. While conducting my observation, I also reflected on my own personal behavior, particularly my facial expressions. Genuine emotion can unintentionally leak through someone's face due to an unconscious reaction called a microexpression. Microexpressions are tiny, subtle, and involuntary facial reactions that reveal how someone truly feels. They are tied to the 7 universal emotions known as happiness, sadness, disgust, surprise, and fear, and they're nearly impossible to fake. I noticed that the line judge on the side of me would quickly lift her chin up and press her lips together when Silverado lost a scrappy point. This is a subtle cue that suggested disappointment and possibly a want for her team to do better. I recognize that I also share similar microexpression in moments of disappointment, especially watching volleyball games. And in everyday situations, it reminded me that as observers, we also reveal our emotions through microexpressions, even when we think we're neutral. So, can any of my observations be applied to a psychological theory? The first concept I'll be going over is observational learning. Observational learning, defined by Simply Psychology, it is when an individual watches others perform behaviors and then copies those actions. In the volleyball game, I saw the players watching their coach's gestures and reactions. For instance, when the sector coach nodded or tapped his head to signal a smart play, his players appeared more confident and energized. The Silverado players and bench also mirrored positive cues from their coach and each other, showing how behavior spreads through social learning. Therefore, both the coaches and teammates within acted as behavior cues for each other, reinforcing the principles of observational learning. Next, we have sensory adaptation. According to Verywell Mind, sensory adaptation is reduction to a sensitivity to a sensory stimulus after constant exposure to it. I noticed that the players were repeatedly hit by fast serves and spikes, but showed little visible reaction to the physical impact. Their bodies and posture stayed strong and steady. This suggested that the sensory systems adapted to the repetitive stimuli, the motion, the impact, the noise, allowing them to focus on performance rather than sensation. In short, their bodies had tuned out the constant stimuli, which is sensory adaptation in action. The third concept I'll be going over is positive reinforcement. Defined by Simply Psychology, positive reinforcement is the process of rewarding desired behaviors with something pleasant or more desirable to increase the likelihood that that behavior will occur again. The sector coaches' nods, claps, and gestures of approval acted as positive reinforcements. The players responded with more engagement and excitement, and the bench mirrored the same enthusiasm, reinforcing the idea that positive feedback will strengthen the desired behavior. The crowd's cheers also served as rewards, motivating the players to perform well again. Finally, we have the fight or flight response. According to Verywell Mind, the fight or flight response is defined as the body's automatic reaction to a perceived threat or stressor, activating the psychological changes such as increased heart rate, rapid breathing, and muscle tension. During the close calls of 25-23 during the game, I noticed that the referee's face tightened and his posture stiffened and focus narrow. Players also showed intense readiness, alert eyes, quick reactions, and tightened muscles. Although the situation wasn't life-threatening, the body reacted similarly, preparing them for peak performance. This shows how the fight or flight response mechanism appears even in competitive and non-dangerous settings like a volleyball game. The hardest part about conducting this observation was trying to listen to all the conversations happening around me. The athletic director sitting right behind me was talking so loudly, distracting me and other audience members, capturing most of my attention and making it difficult to hear other people. I was also seated on the lower bleachers, while most spectators were in the middle and higher up seats, which limited the range I could hear and observe. If I could do this project again, I would choose a more public and outdoor setting like Town Square or the Strip, just to have a more diverse and bigger group to observe and hear. In conclusion, my observation of the JV volleyball game revealed that everyday sports behavior reflects the psychological concepts. Through observational learning, athletes model their coaches and peers. With sensory adaptation, players tune out repeated stimuli to stay focused. Positive reinforcement encourages and strengthens good performance, while the fight or flight response makes competition trigger psychological readiness. And through microexpressions, hidden emotions subtly reveal themselves, even in the smallest facial movements. This experience showed me that psychology isn't just random theories. It's real and visible in real-world interactions, from players to referees to the crowd and even myself as an observer. Thank you for watching my naturalistic observation presentation.